Proverbs chapter 22 verse 26 states and says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they have gone, they will not depart from it. And that is what we are going to be discussing today. Who should take sole responsibility when it comes to the moral upbringing of children? Now, where this particular conversation comes from, of course, this particular incident, I'm sure that you have seen it trending on social media everywhere. Me alone, it left me very disgruntled, and I said, but we have greater things to worry about. Why are we so overtaken by the fact that children were being dumped in a bus anyway? People have different perceptions about what happened. So I'm sure you did see the video. Of course, we cannot show it here because it does not agree with our moral standards and values as CTV. But, so what happened is that students of Lubiri High School was filmed and seen dancing, as what people would say, a very sexual dance in a bus that belonged to Midland High School. So this particular conversation comes at a time where we're asking who should be taking sole responsibility for the moral upbringing or even moral actions of children. Should it be the teachers? Should it be the parents? Or should it be the children themselves? And this morning we are looking at children in high school. We're not looking at minors. So we're looking at children who do have a mind of their own. Joining me at the center of this conversation are none other than the ladies that I like to hang out with. You know, we go for cocktails and mocktails and all these things. And no salsa is none other than Priva Elibaz and Agi Owase. Now, Agi was telling us a story behind the scenes, and she was alerting us and telling us very soon Chija Kugwa, the singleness will be ending. So we shall be letting the cat out of the bag on 411 Paparazzi, letting you know who will be the man to walk down the aisle with Agi Owase. Anyway, ladies, today we're going to be diving into the conversation and we're going to be looking at the question that I asked: who should be taking sole responsibility when it comes to the moral upbringing of children? Of course, I'm sure you did see the video that was trending on Twitter. So first of all, give me your brief reactions towards that video, and then let me know in your capacity, away from even the incident that happened, who should be taking the blame? Is it the parents? Is it the teachers? Or is it the students themselves? And I'll start with you, Agi.
First of all, what Siobhan said is defamation. In the preamble, whatever she said is defamation. But anyway, I watched that video, and for me, I think it was devastating. I'm not a parent, but I can only imagine if you are a parent and you saw your child in that video, what would be your reaction and how you'd feel about it. So I literally put myself in the shoes of parents.
Of that one parent.
Exactly, of that one parent, of that child, you know. How would they feel in the moment? For me, I must say that I was devastated, and I would share the same sentiment if I were a parent. I would still be devastated. About, you know, why this comes about, I think it's just multiple factors, because at the end of the day, a child is, you know, raised not just by a parent, by the school, by the society, by, you know, the religious people as well. But most importantly, I'll say that for me, I think that these character traits by these students that, you know, they exuded on the bus, these are things that they watch probably at home.
Okay, so away from the incident that happened at the bus, who should be taking up sole responsibility when it comes to
there is no, and that's why I'm saying there's no particular person who should be taking sole responsibility. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Priva, do you have a different view or opinion?
Absolutely. Now, just to start off, growing up, actually, let me first make my stand very clear. At the end of the day, as a parent, it's your sole responsibility to take care of your child, to guide your child, to instill morals, values, and everything there is. I mean, times have changed. We're no longer in the 1920s where it was just a village setting and everyone knows this and everyone knows what's happening in someone's home. You know, times have changed. People are moving on, people are busy, people are occupied, people have so much to do with their lives. So I'm not going to worry about my household when I'm worrying about the next person's, you know, child or, you know, children. That's not going to happen. Of course, you know, there's some certain instances where you have to help a child. I mean, if you found them, you know, on the way and, you know, they look lost, they don't know what they're doing, it's your responsibility there, not as a parent, not as anything, but as a citizen of Uganda, you know, to maybe get them to the nearest police station. So getting back to the video of Midland High School, I was in shock. I was in shock because I went to a single girls school back in high school.
Maybe that's
full 6 years. Full 6 years. 6 years in a single girls school, and actually behaviors like that are the reason why my high school banned SOSH. or prom or whatever people want to call it back in the day, because I think one of the students there was a daughter to a bishop of Greater Ankole. And before they knew it, they were still going, you know, for search with the entire school and stuff like that. Before they knew it, the girl got pregnant. And of course, you know, that's like top management. That's like everyone is involved in, you know, invested in that story. So they had to stop search for my high school back in the day because of, you know, reasons like that. When it goes back to why certain things like this happen, I think I'm going to now blame the society, because as society, we've played a role in how, you know, in what information we're giving children out there. If I'm to be very clear, the media itself, we're in the media, but I'm still going to hold us, you know, accountable. We are making things very, how would I call, we're not like putting so much emphasis on the morality that is, you know, expected of us in our societies and in our communities. It's easy for you to, you know, get on the internet and see people defending, you know, same-sex relationships. It's easy for you to get on the internet and see people defending a 15-year-old being a stripper in a club, in a nightclub, because they have to provide. Like, times have changed. Morality of the youths especially has changed, and it varies from, you know, different country to different this and that. So for me, society is the main reason as to why we still have youths, you know, behaving the way they are behaving. I will assure you, Shivan and Aggie, when I was in high school, there is not even a single chance. There is not even a single chance that even my parent could have, you know, found me, you know, doing that in a school bus.
Is that because you were in a single-sex school?
It's not even because I'm in a single-sex school. My mother was super strict. Very strict. The content you watch on TV, you're watching Telemundo, soap operas, you're watching people, you know, kissing on TV.
So she used not to allow, she used not to allow you to watch that. So in other words, you're saying your mom is entirely responsible for the morals that you display today.
Yes, like the stand that I made at the beginning.
I beg to used to watch reality TV.
Yes, I used to watch reality TV, but it got to a point where, at that moment, what was like 2014, 2013 when I got into it, that was like senior 6 vacation. But I'll tell you, before I got to senior 6, before I attained the age of 18 years, my mother was in full control of what I can watch, where I can go, what I can do. So even before you got scared of, you know, doing something with someone else for yourself, you'd be scared of your mother.
I beg to differ, first of all, and that's why I started by saying there's no one solely responsible for these particular actions, especially that were displayed by these students on a bus. Because here's the reason. Right now, most students spend most of their active part of their lives in school. These are students going to boarding school. Parents only see their children, what? For sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes just a month. So 3 months you are at school. Here's what happens. They're always going to computer laboratories, you know, going to, you know, talk to the people on social media. Actually, I'll just give you an example, because back in school, I remember would be very much, you know, running to the computer lab because we wanted to work. People were watching pornographic content in computer
school.
Yes. I'm not gonna mention, but this is one of, you know, out of so many other schools that actually do this. And the other thing, there are these dancers. For us, we used to call them Rex. Others call them donkeys. I don't know how you used to call them.
We used to call them Chinyebwa.
Exactly. If it's a mixed school, you find students are actually dancing erotically. I'll state it categorically clear. Erotically during these recs or these dances. That is the same thing that they did on the bus.
Okay,
so here's the thing.
So ladies, okay, let's put the bus incident aside. And there's a saying that says the apple does not fall very far from the tree. What are the chances that a child who has grown up in a home where a father beats the mom, or a father is a drunkard, or the father is very aggressive and uses harsh verbal language, what are the chances that that child will not carry on those traits? Are you still going to blame the school? You brought out the aspect of children spend more time at school, but they learn most of the things from home. It is, I think, and according to statistics, and psychologists would agree with me, that very rarely will you find a child that has been brought up right exhibiting certain negative traits at school, because they know better. They know better. They have already been told better. Why would you, yes, you complete. Why would you send your child to school? You send your child to school to get education, not to be taught morals. And I think that's where parents get it wrong. Parents over time have neglected their roles as parents and have now removed the responsibility of being a parent and put it upon the teachers. You're paying school fees for your child to be impacted knowledge of what is science, what is math, and all these things. Not to be taught that when your grandmother comes in, you kneel. Unfortunately, our curriculum is not like that. So my biggest issue is that parents thinking that teachers are the ones now supposed to take in the parent role. Let's take a look at parents who work 411. They wake up at 6 a.m., they come back at 10 p.m. The child is asleep. You have not interacted with them. Then you blame the school. But you as a parent, are you being intentional about the kind of life or knowledge or skills or morals that you are imparting into your children?
That is why I said, let's not blame it solely on one person, not on the parent and not on the school administration. If your child is at home, they're back from school for holiday, it's now entirely up to you as a parent to make sure that you put them in line. That is, follow up on whatever, TV programs they are watching, follow up on what they are talking about with their friends on the phone, because right there at that moment, you're the administrator of your child. When the child goes to school, it's up to the school administration, and that's the reason why there are rules and regulations in school, otherwise you wouldn't have them. Isn't that the reason? So honestly, parents have to play their role. The school administration has to play their role. Even society has to play their role.
Okay. I know people really hate this saying, but it's not even a saying, but a statement. I'm a mother. People hate that, listening to it, because they think, you're coming from a boastful, place and stuff like that. But it's not that. So I'm going to say the fact that I'm a mother and I'm fully aware, 1000%, that my son's responsibility, that my son's morals and values and, being a good, upright citizen in society is entirely up to me. It's entirely my responsibility. No one is going to step in and do that for me. Even after work, I have to go back and, actively, be involved in his life at the end of the day. When you say children spend a lot of time at school and, teachers should, at that point, take over the role of, teaching them morals and stuff like that, that's not going to happen. Because you know why? Teachers probably meet these students maybe once or twice or thrice a week. You understand? Because we're talking about youths right now. We're not talking about minors. We're talking about people who are actually like in high school, because I think we're still talking about the midlife thing. Yes, they meet them maybe like twice or thrice a week. And at the end of the day, you're in a classroom, a classroom of about 300 people. 300 people, yes, you can.
So what's the essence? Let me cut. I'm sorry to cut you short. I'm sorry to cut you short.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Finish. Then Aggie will rebuttal.
You're in a class of 300 people. Tell me why Aggie Uwase, who is a teacher for literature, has left her home. Probably, she's dealing with that, battling with that, thinking about this, and the only thing she has on her mind is to get through this class, is to teach these people what she has to teach them about literature for that day and get it done. That's the real reality. Like I told you, Aggie, no one is going to care about your child the same way you do as a parent. And no one is ever going to say, you know what, I'm responsible because, kids were gyrating in a school bus. It is my fault as a teacher. No.
Okay, here's the thing, and I'll tell you why I think the school administration in this regard is at fault. First of all, I started by talking about the dances. Can, erotic dances be stopped in school? That's on the school admin. The parent will not know that, the erotic dance is going on in school at around midnight, unless the child tells them. How will the parent know? And here's the other thing. You're talking about, as a parent, it's your sole responsibility. You are back at home. You have taken your child at school. And also, there are rules and regulations. So if you say the school admin shouldn't be held accountable, why do we get punished in school when we do not, go by the rules and regulations? Why our parents call back at school?
Few rules and regulations
to
just guide you in that establishment you are in at the time.
Let's agree. When your child is at home, it's your responsibility as a parent to put them in line and make sure they're doing what they need to do and being morally upright. When the child is at school, that's why we have senior women in school. That is why we have, disciplinary teachers at school. Because what is their essence?
I have a question. And please do not talk about senior women
teachers. It's so weird because she's assuming all youths are in boarding
schools. This is the thing. I don't want us to go down the road of senior women teachers, because statistics show that in Africa alone, the reason as to why most children go astray is because we have left our children in the hands of matrons, in the hands of patrons, and the senior women teachers are the ones telling our children what it means are the ones telling our children what it means to develop things like breasts, are the ones telling our children what to expect when they're in their messes. This is, you see, Aggie, and I'm going to side with you at some point. I get where you're coming from. That is the ideal. But the reality is, the parents of nowadays have left their children to be parented by TV, parented by media, parented by senior woman teacher, and parented by the teachers. For them, their role is to give birth. They will even say, "Omwana na mutu ala kusomero kusoma." I expect that you will teach them everything they need to know, forgetting that they have a role to play. But there's something I want to ask you. If one day your child was caught stealing, God forbid, at school.
Please never.
Okay, it's an example. If your child was caught stealing at school, and for example, you have stolen before. I mean, we have all stolen at some point.
I haven't.
Chikumi,
I beg to
sugar.
differ.
No, Aggie, please. Enough of the self-righteousness. Would you come out and tell your child, oh, what you did was wrong. However, I once was this, and these are the repercussions I faced. I just want a yes or no answer, because then it will lead me to my next question. Would you come out and boldly tell your child that what you have done is something I did? For example, you were drunkard. And your child started taking alcohol, and the way you want to discipline them is by telling them, I used to be that kind of person, and this is what happened. So I do not want you to end up like me. Would you be bold enough to tell them?
It can't be a yes or no answer.
It has to be. Like, but would you tell them is my question. Would you be able to tell them?
And that's why I'm saying it cannot be a yes or no answer.
It will depend on what?
If the child is younger, I cannot tell them. If they are older to understand, then I would tell them.
We're talking about youth. We're talking about people that are 18 and above. That is the center of the conversation this morning. So would you tell them that I used to do this and this is how I ended up? Please do not do it.
Well, still it would depend. Here's the thing. Me, I would sit down my child, tell them the dangers of drinking alcohol. I can only bring in myself as an example. If it's too extreme, I have tried and they have failed to change.
And that is exactly where it beats parenting, the aspect of self-righteousness. There is no better person a child can learn from than from a parent. No, if parents could only understand, and I've not been a parent before, but I've seen the way my parents have raised me, and I applaud them for the way they raised me. My parents always gave me examples of the things they did in their life and how it turned out for them. That is the best way I learned. Because you see, in our minds as children, our parents are alpha and omegas. We don't know any other person that has done any other terrible thing. But imagine if the person that you believe and hold in high esteem as your dad came and told you, hey, guess what? I used to do this, and this is what happened to me. I'll be like, oh, so daddy can actually come out and humble himself and say he did this. These are the repercussions he faced, and he doesn't want me to go through it. I think the major issue as to why parenting is an issue is because parents have this self-righteousness in them. They do not want the children to see the wrong thing
I don't think it's about
that is why I asked, would you come out to plainly tell your child that I did this in high school? Please do not do it.
Well, I think for me personally, I would sit down and talk to them, but I would not use myself as an example. At the end of the day, just like the way you view your father and your mother as the most, right person, whatever your mother says, whatever your father says is always right. You understand? So you still want your children to look at you as someone who is always right, who is righteous, and keep that line of respect there. Because I mean, when you start telling your child, you see what, when I was 16, we went out to the clubs.
They might actually think it's okay.
You'll be like, okay, but mom did it. She's here now. We are okay. Why can't we go through the same? But when you tell them, you see the other person who is always walking like this and that. She got pregnant at 15. You need to, know and be careful what you engage. Who you engage yourself with out there when it comes, to sexual activity and stuff like that. But when you give them examples and you include yourself, there's a likelihood that you may not achieve your goal. But when you stay out of it but still put your point across, they'll respect you, and the fact that they respect you enough, they will do what you have said without necessarily
Okay, so Preva, you're a mom. I understand you're a mom of one amazing little boy, and I would ask this. Let's look at child appropriate behavior. Don't you think that as a parent sometimes you or other parents out there are too strict when it comes to handling especially the youth? I mean, teenagers, teenage behavior, the 311 teenage behavior is mood swings, slamming doors. I mean, that is very common. I mean, especially when it comes with puberty. So do you think there's such a thing as child appropriate behavior, and should children be punished when they're actually acting their age?
First of all, I'd want to say that is not acting their age. Whatever the Midland guys were doing, that is not acting your age. That is simply immoral. To put it right, that is simply immoral. Okay. So when it comes to child appropriate behavior, I feel like as a parent, your parenting style comes into play. Personally, I do not believe in shouting at children, or you know, your people. Like they're children, but maybe as a parent you need to get yourself down to their level, reason as them, but also impact knowledge, you know, when it comes to empowering them and making them better people in society. Now, I'm not saying that you know, your kids should have it easy. You can still have these conversations. They can listen, they can comprehend. You can give them the consequences. It doesn't necessarily have to, you know, be you punishing them, beating them and doing that. You can, you know, supplement the beatings with another punishment. You understand? So for me, when it comes to appropriate behaviors, that was not appropriate what Midland did. At the end of the day, as a parent, it is your responsibility. Get to work. Get to work. Do not leave these children in the hands of the housemaids, in the hands of, you know, the teachers at school, because they also have things to take care of back at home. They're there to get their job done and go back.
Okay, so again, let's look at the aspect of child appropriate behavior. How far would you go to say, okay, I will not be as harsh as I would if you were at a different age? Like, what is appropriate for a certain behavior? Let's talk in high school terms, like you're 18 and above. What would be the appropriate behavior for this kind of child?
I don't know what you mean by appropriate behavior for this child.
Like Priva explained, and Priva said there is nothing such as child appropriate. That is just poor morals.
Yes.
Would you say that sometimes children act in a way that is just appropriate for their age, that they should not be punished?
Absolutely not.
Really?
And oh yes, let's look at that video first of all. Very immoral.
Not even the
No,
video.
I'm just giving an example. The video, I'll just re-echo what she said because that is the truth. And there is not, because if you talk about puberty, during puberty, these teens want to smoke, they want to, you know, to do the things they watch, you know, all those things that are being triggered by their hormones. But at the end of the day, they're not good things. They'll end up getting pregnant. They'll end up, you know, they could quit school. I mean, all those, you know, downsides that come with all that. So there's no such thing as by this age, it's okay for you to do, like, for as long as it's something inappropriate, it's inappropriate, and that's what it is. And it should be checked at that moment. Do not give your children leverage to know that they can do this and get away with it because they are teenagers, because they are, you know, in the stage of puberty. Because the moment you don't mitigate it in time, they may not even get to university. Maybe they'll drop out of school, or it will get worse when it gets to university. So the moment you see inappropriate behavior in a child, it doesn't matter the age, check it right there and then.
Well, research conducted in the US did highlight and say that most of the students or most of the children who did not fully live their teenage lives tend to exhibit certain behaviors when they are mature. But before that, I do have a video that I want us to watch, then we shall get back to the conversation.
But yet it's a very powerful scripture with a promise. Very powerful promise. This scripture is the guarantee that actually, if you know how to raise a child, they will not fail in life. This is a guarantee. He says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart. In other words, if I should know how to train up this child in the way they should go, I will not worry about them when they grow up. I will not worry about them when they go to university. I will not worry about them when they go to scholarship in Canada or America. I will not worry about them when they meet their peers and their peers want to go to club and they're luring them to go with them. I will not worry about my daughter if a young man says, I want to have sex with you before they are married. I will not worry about how she will respond because I have raised her right. That means that there's a given frame of life where God has given us a certain responsibility. And if we can hit certain marks and milestones spiritually, we are guaranteed of how our children will respond because God is not a liar. He says the way they should go. When they grow, they will not depart from it. But you see, the emphasis here again that I want you to underline, he said in the way they should go. The word should there is a commanding language. It's not a negotiating language. It's a commanding language. It's not negotiating. It does not care how that child at that point will interpret what you're doing because children will not understand everything a parent does.
Right there is Apostle Grace Lubega, and of course he's from Phaneroo for those that know. And of course he was highlighting Proverbs chapter 22 verse 26. Now I like the way he actually summarized exactly what we are discussing today. And here's the thing. as parents, there is so much that we can do for a child. We can only do as much. We shall teach them, we shall impart the morals, we shall give them all the knowledge, we shall tell them when granny comes into the house, you don't say, hey, what's up, grandma? You kneel down and greet grandma, you know, and all these things. But you need to understand that when you have taught your child, you need to let them go to see if they are able to do as you have taught them. And that is something very many parents struggle with. You teach your child, but you still want to police them. That means you know that as a teacher and as a parent, you have not done your best, because why are you still policing your child after teaching them? But again, the scripture says, in the way they should go. That means when it comes to the understanding of a child, the way they should go might not actually be the way they should go. They might decide to go astray, because then they have minds of their own. However, let's now look at punishment of children, especially when it comes to high school, above 18 years. What would be the best form of punishment for them when they go astray?
Oh, interesting. Now, when it comes to...
Because now we're looking at punishments such as spanking, spare the rod and spoil the child. We're looking at punishments such as what they call, we take away the things that you like. We talk about grounding. We probably tell you no TV time.
But
so
still
what would be the best form of, yes, of
I
course.
think as why I kind of got confused was if it was still like in the school environment or like back home in like the home setting. Oh, the home setting.
Back home setting, when a child has committed an offense at school.
And maybe they've been suspended.
Exactly.
Okay, so first of all, I know teachers are also not like righteous people. Sorry to put out there. I know they are presented to us as people who are, you know, amazing. They're teachers. They're there to, you know, show you the way and, you know, lead you here and there. But teachers could also have their own, you know, personal
grudges.
Yes, I think all of us in school have had that one teacher who has, you know, been stuck on this one person. Every time they come, they're like, you, Shivan, where is your work? Even before they even talk to anyone else. Or, you know, Shivan, you are doing this and that. Or this and that. Or you find like they're over, you know, on your case and stuff like that. If it were my child and the were suspended, I think before I actually even get to disciplining them, I first understand why they were actually suspended. I have to listen to both sides of the story. Now, I'm not saying my child is going to dupe me into, you know, believing whatever they're saying, because at the end of the day, I know them. I know when they're lying. I know when they're telling the truth. So I'm going to listen to both sides of the story and understand why the actual problem is. When I actually deduce that, that's when I'll know the kind of punishment that is fit for the crime that, or the offense that was, you know, committed. First of all, for me, spanking is off the table. That's the most ridiculous way of how you can even, you know, like, I don't know, punish your child. So the child will automatically get used to, you know, you beating them all the time and spanking them and spanking them, and it will become like the order of the day. Oh, mommy just wants to beat me. Okay, fine, I'll do what I want to do. And, you know, this is it. But if you sit down and talk to them, maybe the underlying issues, I mean, like, times have changed. Even kids as young as, you know, 15, as young as 16 are going through depression, are going through, you know, mental anxiety, are going through so much. So maybe sit down and understand why your child is reacting the way they are reacting. Understand why they're behaving the way they are behaving. If it means enlisting a therapist, get to it. Get to it. Understand why your child is reacting the way they are reacting. People say it's puberty, but, you know, we've seen a fair share of people go through puberty without necessarily, you know, committing, you know, these bad acts here and there. So for me as a parent, I think I would rush to finding out why, and then the why will determine how. If it is something that is maybe stemming from, you know, me as a parent, because a child could also be like, but mommy, you haven't been in my life for the past, you know, 1 year. You haven't actively been present. You just send money. I don't, you know, stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah. You also get to understand why kids react the way they are reacting, and it gives you like basically the best.
So in other words, you literally take sole responsibility for what the child has done at school.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
For me, talking about punishing children, first of all, I don't like humiliating children. And I remember back in school when they would call you, when they would call your parent, you'd know what is coming for you. They're going to call a parade,
yes,
and they're going to spank you right in front of everyone. That's humiliation. It would take away a child's self-esteem. I don't believe in that at all.
But our parents who are kind, did it make them any...
Well, no, but well, but I can only imagine what those children would do, because they'd be bullied at the end of the day, bullied, ridiculed by their fellow students, which is not a good thing. They would end up performing poorly at the end of the term. But I would prefer that, you know, sit on the round table. If you're called by the school admin, why did this child did this? Listen, she talked about listening to both sides of the coin, and that is absolutely true. However, in that moment, multiple people will lie. The teacher may try to manipulate the child will try to defend themselves. So you need to listen to the school administration separately from your child. Try to understand why they did what they did. And also this goes back to the connection that you create for your children to be able to open up to you and talk to you exactly about how they feel and why they did what they did. In the event that they are the one in wrong, for me, I prefer take away some of the things that they love the most. If they've been having a tab at school, tell them, this time you're not having a tab. Trust me, they'll get themselves
settle down.
in line.
So
And also the other one, if you've been giving them 100,000 pocket money, tell them this time 40,000.
You're getting
Trust
20.
me, they'll
But
get in line
100,000,
properly. Yes,
ah.
spanking them. She talked about, you know, they can spank you and
You
it's
get
okay.
you get used.
Yes. So take away some of those precious things that they love the most. Trust me, the next time they'll not do what they want.
Actually,
I
like
want
the
to make
fact
this-
that just to mention something a little bit. I like the fact that Aggie mentioned the issue of teachers humiliating students on parades and stuff like that. Well, it may achieve what the teachers want, so that
Other students
it
may
stops
not
other
copy
students
the
from doing
behavior.
the same thing. But at the end of the day, you're damaging someone else, maybe to a point where they'll never even be able to come back and reform in society. Humiliation is not a form of, it should never be a form of punishment, because at the end of the day, you think you're uplifting you're helping other people do the right thing, but you're actually killing someone else.
Yeah,
in the long run.
Those are very strong words.
Yeah.
So let me take this personally, and I think I need to make this question more personal. Would you still go ahead and take sole responsibility if your child was found with drugs at school, or things like alcohol, or things like cigarettes? Would you still go ahead and take sole responsibility and say, you know what? Yes, me and my mother, like you said, it is your sole responsibility to make sure that Kai is brought up in the best way possible. So
Right.
would you go ahead and take responsibility as well?
1000%. Kai is my responsibility when it comes to anything that he's going to do at school. Where did you get the money from? How did you go to buy the drugs? How did you go to buy the alcohol? If I was not watching you, if someone at home was, someone with with the adult supervision was actually around to watch what you're actually doing, at the end of the day, we cannot blame these schools. The schools are there to give us education, and the education we are talking about is the written education.
Thank you.
The other education that comes in is maybe culture, in days where there is like the music, dance, and drama competitions, healthy, healthy activities that people engage in.
Okay.
With the stuff of morals and stuff, they just come by default. They just come by default.
Default.
Yes,
I
you
still
being
beg to
being
differ.
on time, you being on time for
I
assembly,
still beg
you
to
being on
differ.
time for those things just it's
I still
designed as
beg
a
to
system in a
differ,
school.
and the reason I'm saying this is some of these traits, if it's drugs,
Unless
if
you're
it's
going to say there's a
alcohol,
moral
I will
class
tell you, no,
at
here's the thing.
high schools.
Some of these traits, our children pick them from their colleagues at school. Some of them do not watch these things on TV back at home. Their parents are very strict. But you find these other students who do those things back. No, listen.
Your parents gave you
listen,
pep talk before you went to
listen,
school. Your
Listen,
parents gave you
unless,
pep
no,
talk
here's
before
the
you went
thing.
to school.
Unless you as a parent, you're also a drug addict or an alcoholic, that is the only way you can take the sole responsibility. But if I do none of these things, if my children do not do these things at home and they do them at school, how can I take responsibility for that? I can only put them in
Shivan,
check.
2 seconds.
this
Please, 2
conversation-
seconds. We used to have pep talks with our parents before we went back to
Even
school.
at-
At least for me, my mother would sit down, tell you, you're going for 3 months. This is what I expect. I expect good grades. I expect this to happen. And also, before you actually go out there and engage with people that you don't know,
You can
this
only
is-
do
these are
so
the
much.
consequences.
Okay, so ladies,
Yes.
this conversation could go on and on, but before we sign out, I think it's very important that I leave you with a few reminders, and this is the importance of moral values in children. The first one is that it builds their character. Now, knowing good morals, values such as kindness, humility, and courage, together with compassion at an early age, builds a child's character. It forms the very core of their being and becomes the foundation of their moral beliefs. The next one is it helps them to tell right from wrong, and it changes their perception of the world. When a child can tell what is right from wrong, they can also determine the good from bad. Now, this helps to shape their perception of the world. A child who has a strong moral compass will not just stand idly by when injustice is happening. And finally, it determines their adult behavior. A famous verse from the Christian Bible says, "Train up a child in the way they should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." My word of advice to parents out there and children is that, and this is something my father tells me all the time, Children are always reading from parents' scripts without permission. Every single thing that you do, a child is watching. The apple does not fall far from the tree. However, parents need to take sole responsibility for the moral upbringing of their children. Because at the end of the day, the reason as to why you've sent your child to school is to get written knowledge. The rest of the morals, manners, culture, you know, being respectful and having and just, you know, accepting people in society all boils down to the upbringing of the child, which entirely depends on you as a parent. And that winds up what I had for you this morning. Keep watching Sunrise at Sea.
Well, all good things must come to an end, and unfortunately we've come to the end of the show today. And just, you know, one final thing that I have to say about morality of children. As a parent, it is your sole responsibility. Remember that every single day that you wake up, you give birth to this person, not by anyone's help, but you and your partner. So it is your sole responsibility as a parent to take care of your child. Well, that's all we had for you today on Sunrise at Sea. We'll be back tomorrow from 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. My name is Priva Elibaz. Good morning.